Jeremy Adams is the author of Hollowed Out, a warning about America's next generation. It comes out next week, and it reveals why students have rejected wisdom, culture, and really a lot of institutions of Western civilization, and what can be done to win them back. Jeremy, it's really good to have you. Thank you for writing this book.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's a profoundly important message we need to get out there.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to read for folks just some of what this book gets into, because you talk about how younger kids are digital hermits, and you're a teacher, you're an educator, so you see this in your classroom, that they have uninformed values, and really what you say is most worrying of all, their humanity, their curiosity stunted, reason underdeveloped, humanity diminished. Digital hermits of a sort unfamiliar to an older generation. They're not really interested in marriage and family, and they kind of dismiss religion, not interested in patriotism. This is, and I have kids that are exactly in this demo that you're talking about. And I'm always, especially with everything in the past year, and also with all the messages that society is feeding them, I feel like a lot is working on these kids to kind of, just kind of drum down any kind of identity. You wrote this book partly, from what I understand, what you were inspired by seeing these kids return to your classroom. And talk to me about that, because I mean it's a great book. It's a compelling read, very provocative. Tell me a little bit about this, and how why were you brought to write this? Because of the stuff you were witnessing.
No, amazing question. Most of the time when somebody writes a really ambitious book in our country, where the message is, hey, there is a colossal titanic problem coming our way, that book is usually written by somebody who is famous, or a politician, or a pundit, or an Instagram influencer. But I would tell you, Dana, that if you want to know somebody who has a front row seat to American decline, if you want to know somebody who's in the trenches and sees a lot of disturbing pivots in our society, in our culture, it's not the pundits and the politicians, it's the classroom teachers like myself. I've been in a classroom for almost a quarter of a century, and I'll tell you, the changes I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years are profoundly upsetting. And I giggle a little bit inside because I hear you talking about your own kids. This isn't just me frustrated as Mr. Adams. This is me wanting to scream out loud at my society, saying, stop making it so hard for me to raise my children with traditional values, who love their country and who want to connect themselves to the things that typically lead to a meaningful life. So, there are so many problems that I talk about in the book. But by and large, I think the people who aren't in the classroom don't understand the extent to which young people live their lives today completely untethered to adult values, adult behaviors, adult expectations. They're spending 9 or 10 hours a day on their phones. And what does that mean, Dan? That means they're not reading books. That means they're not dating. They're not going to the movies. They're not going to football games the way that you and I did. I think we're probably a similar age. And you're right about the religion. There's a whole section in there about the fact that it's not just that young people today are rejecting, Christianity or Islam or Hinduism. They don't know anything about it. They're simply ignorant about it. And largely they don't date. Half of all 18 to 35-year-olds today don't have a romantic partner. The desire for marriage and family is in free fall. 1 in 5 millennials say they don't have a friend in the entire world. And, I've made my living teaching political science. I am a unapologetic lover of America. I think the creation of this country was the greatest pivot in the history of the world. And the fact that the young people in my classroom today are the least patriotic Americans in our history bothers me to the depths of my soul. So yes, they are hollowed out, and people from all walks of life, all politics, everybody needs to wake up and realize what's coming our way.
And this has even happened since even before the pandemic. How much, in what you say is interesting, because you talk about the isolationism. We were told that social media was great. It's going to help everybody stay together, stay connected. Not really what we're seeing.
That's a great question. I mean, it's interesting because, most of the research that's in the book, all of these disturbing numbers and these alarming statistics were before the lockdown and before all of this happened. I guarantee there's going to be a deluge of research that talks about their mental health. I mean, something I didn't mention a moment ago is just how toxic they feel about their own lives. I mean, between 2007 and 2017, teen depression rose 63%. Suicide in children ages 10 to 24 jumped 56%. Again, that's before the pandemic. Um, and so when you look at how young people feel about their own lives, they don't feel connected to the things that traditionally make them happy. And that's my real concern. The name of the book is Hollowed Out. And the reason they're hollowed out is because they don't have the values, the behaviors, and the relationships that typically fill us in and give us a sense of meaning and purpose, and making us feel good about ourselves. So I look at my young people, and if there are any teachers out there, they're going to be nodding right now when I use this word: anxiety. That is the word of the time. Our students are filled with anxiety, and that's largely because they don't have a lot of powerful adult relationships mentoring them, teaching them, showing them the way that you and I know is the key to a meaningful life, and for young people to be socialized in a way that leads to really positive outcomes.
So what do we do to fix it?
Well, there's a lot of things we need to do. Just really quickly off the top of my head, the adults have to start adulting again. We have to put ourselves into the spaces of our young people. The other thing we need to do, and this is my political science hat I'm wearing, is young people need to understand that being patriotic does not mean that you think your country was perfect. It is not a declaration of perfection. You can stand for the national anthem. You can say the Pledge of Allegiance and still understand that America has done things that we're not proud about. And in fact, the reason why the silent generation has a 94% rate of being proud of their history is because we see the progress we've made. And also, I would say the third thing is defend traditional values and aspirations. To be an American is to dream, is to reach, is to believe that nothing stands in your way. Do not let young people think because they have problems that they can't achieve, that those hurdles are insurmountable. As Teddy Roosevelt said, to be an American is to be in the arena of life. We need to get our kids back in the arena.